almost like mini games for each of those characters that have returned to find out what's happened to them from the end of the last game all the way until the start of the first this game in the timeline.
Like about how long would those mini games last?
So if you took all 6, so there's 6 different characters, and of course their stories vary in length a little bit. But gameplay-wise, if you play through the character chapters for each of those older characters all combined, you're looking at like 15 to 25 hours.
Oh, nice.
So they're definitely like full-on experiences. Sure. And what's great is it gives kind of that closure to those characters. You know, a lot of times when the end of a role-playing game, it's like, all right, we won, this happened, and like, all right, we won, that's it. But then you find out really what's happened to them after the end of the first game, and also you do get that closure for each and every one of those characters. So in here, one thing you'll see is with the Tales of series, it's always been known for its real-time battle system. So ever since the very first game that came out on the Super Famicom, and every installment since, there's always been that real-time battle system. And one of the great things with Xillia, and it carries over to Xillia 2, is being able to link to other people in your party. So then you link up with one of the other party members, and then the two of you actually fight kind of in tandem and use teamwork against enemies. So you can do that, and then also you can perform these like special linked arts. So they're like super powerful attacks that basically, it's like a super magic spell or attack that both characters will do together. So you are able to fight that way. The main character, Ludger, so he actually has 3 different weapon stances. Oh, see, that's a linked art right there. So he has 3 different weapon stances. So at any time, right away, he can switch between. He has these dual blades. He has a sledgehammer, which he was using right there, and he has these dual pistols that he can use. And with those, you can basically you can decide how you want to take out the enemies. So you have basically like kind of a short range, mid range, and long range weapon. And so you can combo. You could basically start a combo with the dual blades, and then in the middle of the combo, you could actually do an art, switch to the guns, and you can finish the combo with the guns. So there's a lot of style points you can get while you're playing and fighting the enemies.
When you get the little picture-in-picture of the character, what's happening there?
So there's 2 things that pop up. So the picture-in-the-picture in the top left, that's actually one of the party members. They're actually saying something that may or may help. Maybe they're just making a comment. Maybe they just defeated an enemy. If it's Elle doesn't actually fight with you in combat, but she's always with you. So she sometimes tells you, like, hey, you need to use this weapon against these guys, or you need to use like this kind of attack against them. So sometimes she'll give you hints if you're not using the right attack. Sometimes she'll come up with those little things that'll help you out. Sometimes they're there just to be cheerleaders, and they're just kind of saying different things. So here's one of the skits. So again, throughout the game, you can start up these little skits, and these skits are great because they give you a lot more like a development to the characters. So you find out more about them than just the like, okay, we know we need to go from this place to this place, or we know that this is what's driving this character. But these skits are kind of little asides, which really kind of flesh out the characters more. You learn more about their personalities. You see how they kind of interact with each other and react to each other, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're comedic, and different things like that. So
what triggers them? Is it just getting to a certain
area? Once you get to certain areas, or once you fulfill certain requirements, then the skit is kind of almost unlocked. And when you're in an area, then you can start those skits whenever you want. And then once you've seen a skit, of course, you can go back and look at them. And then even when you're walking in certain areas, you don't have to start a skit in order to have them comment about the environment or something that you have as well. So sometimes they'll just show up in the corner, and then they'll start telling you something. So here you can see a bunch of different things. So there was the linked arts, and then you have a chance to basically extend that linked art even more. So it's a lot of different options you have when you're in battle to do different things. And at the end of battle, it's fun. There's literally dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of different kind of ending, almost like the skits, almost little like ending dialogue and animation that shows at the end of each battle. So it's fun to even just see like at the end of battle what happens. So here, Ludger also has the ability to transform. And so throughout the game, he will be able to harness that power even more. But once he transforms, he's able to unleash like really super crazy long combos. He becomes really powerful, but you can see from the meter on the bottom, he can only transform for a short amount of time. So players have to decide, when they want to, when they want to use that power. Like, do I want to use it like when I'm getting only when I get to a boss battle and save it there,
sure.
or wait until the team's almost defeated? I'm going to use it to make sure I beat this this encounter. So definitely you can see there's a lot of right now. Who he's linked to? He's linked to Ludger's linked to Mila right now. So they're going to fight together in a combo. So like for instance, in this one, while you're attacking, she might run behind him and then attack from behind, and it gives you a chance to do longer combos. Oh, and that's Elle. So Elle is definitely she's a fireball as far as personality. So but she's definitely very central to the story. So.
It says main chapter up in the upper right corner there.
Yes.
What does that
so for the main chapter, because this is a sequel, but of course the main story takes place following Ludger and Elle, and kind of their story is central to the whole game. So what the team did is they wanted to kind of basically service both new players and also players who basically they want to experience that story kind of from start to finish. So they did break up the main story into chapters, almost like a book. But at the same time, they wanted to make sure that fans from the first game, or who have their favorite characters, that you actually learn a lot about what's happening to the characters that return in Xillia 2. So what they did is they created those character chapters for all the returning characters. So at certain points in the game, you can decide, hey, I want to continue with the main story. Maybe you're playing and you're at a really pivotal point with Ludger, and it's really climactic. You're like, I want to keep going on the main, on the main story. If you try and kind of wedge in, like, okay, well, we need to focus, 5 hours on, the story of Jude, who was the main character in Xillia 1, and, another 5-hour chapter on Elise, who's right there on, and it really breaks up the flow of the story. So the team wanted to kind of make sure that they could tell that story for Ludger and Elle, and that it could be uninterrupted if you wanted it.
I see.
And at the same time, you could go and play those other chapters. You could play them in the middle, you could play them towards the end. You can decide to do like, oh, I'm going to do one side chapter and then I'm going to come back to the main game and be in one of the main stories. So they really give a lot of options to players to kind of play how they want to play.
Do you have the advantage if you attack an enemy from behind?
Yes, so you will do more damage from attacking from behind. Sometimes you'll stun the enemies as well. You'll see that kind of power hit pops up, so sometimes the power hit is from attacking from behind. Sometimes if you're using a type of attack or art that they're susceptible to, and you'll get those power hits, and if you chain those power hits, you'll do a lot of damage really quickly. So a lot of times when Elle or the other characters are talking over in the corner, if they're not in battle with you kind of saying what they're doing, they're usually giving you hints about what kind of attacks you should be using against those enemies.
What's our objective right now? What are we working for?
So right now, they are in they're in another dimension right now. So there are different dimensions where there's kind of the area where the main characters come from, but they do go to different dimensions based on the choices that some of the characters have made. Sometimes these different dimensions where something is slightly different happens, and so right now they're in one of those other dimensions, and they need to find out, basically they need to find out what the anomaly is, and they need to try and get rid of it. And so once they get rid of it, then that other dimension goes away, and then their dimension is safer, basically. So they did find that one character right there, he was the anomaly in this dimension, so he's the one that they have to take out. So of course, he's not going to go without a fight, so they've got to get into that fight right there. So definitely lots of different enemies, lots of bosses. This is the variety of the gameplay from all of the new areas you can encounter. You can actually, later on in the game, you can return to some of the places where you explored in the first Tales of Xillia. So you can go off over there as well. You'll see that the environment actually in Xillia 2 is actually really different than in what you experienced in Xillia 1. So Xillia 1, in that land that took place, it actually, all the people there, they're able to harness the mana and from nature, and they're able to use that for power. So their civilization kind of evolved in that way to where basically you'll see a lot of nature. So you'll still see forests and oceans, and a lot of the cities are actually more like villages because they were able to utilize the spirits and the nature in order to power themselves. But in Olympios, which is primarily where Xillia 2 takes place, it actually, the people there, they're not able to harness that mana. So because of that, they had to utilize a different power source, and the power source that they use has enabled them to have power for things like electricity, and so characters will have cell phones, and you'll have big sprawling cities and neon lights and all of that. So it definitely has a different look and feel for Xillia 2. Everything kind of has more kind of a noir feel to it if you're the player. So you have that kind of drastic contrast between Xillia 1 and Xillia 2, and that does play into the kind of in the background. A lot of the people who live in either one of the areas or the other, they're kind of at odds because one area utilizes the mana of the world and nature in order, for power, and on the other side, in Olympios, they actually are stealing the power from the Earth in order to utilize their power. So there's definitely different ideologies happening there. So yeah. So you can see here when you link to different characters, you have a completely different set of combination attacks and link darts that you have. So you have your 7 different characters that you can bring in battle. Actually, there's 9 total. And then so depending on which character you bring in, you are able to swap, have different combination attacks, different abilities, depending on who you partner with.
Are we having a rough time here with this boss?
Looks like he's having some trouble here. It definitely isn't an easy game, but this boss, there's lots of different strategies. So right now, he's going to transform, so that might help. But also, some of the different strategies, of course, when you're fighting a boss like this, you might be able to get up close to him and you can do more damage with the sledgehammer or with the twin blades. But when he's flying around like that, you might have to switch to the dual pistols, and you might have to do some of that damage from far away. So you have to definitely be on the work on the fly with your strategy. So good thing is when you need to switch weapons like that, you can do it on the fly. A lot of times you'll have to go into a menu, you'll have to switch weapons, make sure you tune everything for that as well. But here you're able to kind of switch on the fly and kind of battle as you need to.
Are you including the Japanese language track?
So for Xillia 2, we're using the same localization features that we had from the original Tales of Xillia. So it's going to have the English voiceovers with English, Spanish, French, Italian, and German text and subtitles. So, but we're not going to have the Japanese track, unfortunately. There are some games that in the series where the team is working on trying to include that Japanese track, but for Xillia 2, unfortunately, they weren't able to do it. So it looks like they won.
Defeat the boss. There you go. Well, they look a little tired.
Yes, they do look tired. They do look tired, but they've leveled up. Yeah. They've gained experience. So.
Is leveling up, are your stats boosted automatically, or do you